and welcome to another presentation of Oliva Cooking. I'm Victoria, this is my friend Michelle, and today we're making Southern Italian pasta. We're making Cavatelli, and what we're using is all-purpose flour and semolina flour, 1-to-1 proportion, so we'll use 1 cup of all-purpose flour and 1 cup of semolina, and that's probably enough to feed about 4 people. So Michelle will make 1 batch and I'll make another batch. So let's start measuring out, yeah.
I'm excited.
1 cup of semolina, and it doesn't really have to be flat like for baking or anything. The measurements don't have to be that precise, and some people even wing it a little bit so they don't measure, but for the purposes of the recipe we'll measure. So 1 cup of each, and then you want to go ahead and combine those 2 flours, and you can do it just by mixing them with your fingers. And then we're going to add, while you're doing that, I'm going to add just a little bit of salt so we give the pasta some flavor. We'll combine the 2 flours, and we want to make a little mountain like this, and then a volcano in the middle where we're going to pour the water. So we gather all the flour, and we make the walls as high as possible so the water doesn't run out. And then a little volcano in the middle. Perfect. Ah, yours looks much better than mine. So that's where we pour some water and slowly start incorporating the flour into that water. And I say slowly because these mountain walls are really not that sturdy. So the water could go running all over the counter. And you can do this in a bowl too if you didn't want the water running all over the counter. You can do it in a bowl. So we start incorporating more and more flour, kind of enlarge the circles a little bit, and I need more water because I still have a lot of flour to incorporate. I'm going to go like this, throw some in the middle, and start working it. And again, there is no real measurement for the water. How much water you use will depend on how humid the day is, how hot it is outside, how long your flour has been sitting open. So you just want to play it by ear a little bit. And as a general rule, it's probably better to have the dough be a little too wet than too dry, because it's always a little easier to add flour and dry out the dough a little bit than it would be to add water if the dough is too wet or too dry. So I'm just going to keep adding a little bit of water at a time because I want to keep an eye on how soft the dough is. And keep in mind that when you first start kneading the dough, it'll be harder, and as you knead it more and more, it'll soften up significantly, so you don't want to add too much water. And you want to start combining. Perfect, that looks great. You want to start combining everything and sort of softly kneading it just so you can feel how wet the dough is. And mine is probably a little too dry still, so I'm going to add a little more water. And sometimes if your dough is too dry and you've already started kneading it, one thing you can do, it's kind of difficult to add water if the dough is already in a ball like this, but one thing you can do is you can make your hands wet and then knead with wet hands, and that helps you incorporate some of that water into the dough. But for now, I think mine is a good consistency. I'm going to work in some of this flour as I knead, but because the water is going to help the flour bind, the dough is going to become softer as I knead it. You're doing great. You might want to add just a little more water. Maybe to the side where all this flour is.
Where I've still got.
And it's okay, yes. And it's okay not to work in all the flour too. It'll just be a little less pasta. So think about it that way. If you don't work in all the flour, we get less pasta. Gather. That's good. Very good. Yeah. You're getting there. And at this point, see how rough it is?
Yep.
It's very rough, and if you go like this, it tears really easily. So what you want to do is you want to knead it for about 10 minutes at least to make it very smooth and elastic. So this is good exercise. It's good for getting rid of stress. After a long day of work, all right, so we've been kneading for about 10 minutes now. Our arms can tell that. And now see how the dough is very, very elastic and it doesn't tear anymore.
No, mine's tearing right into it. It looks pretty.
You need to knead some more, my friend. So you want to make a smooth ball like this. And what we're going to do is we're going to let the dough rest for at least 20 minutes. Half an hour, 45 minutes would be great, but if you don't have that much time, 20 minutes is perfect. That's perfect. Excellent. All right, let's wrap the dough in some plastic wrap, and then we can sit down and rest a little bit before we make the pasta. It's rested for about 20 minutes, and I unwrapped mine, and it's quite smooth and soft, and it's ready to be worked. How's yours looking? Get it out of here. Very nice. Ooh, perfect. Perfect consistency. So you want it to be soft, but you don't want it to be sticky or too soft. And this is just perfect. So what we're going to do is we will put some semolina flour on our towel. And you want to pick a kitchen towel that has some kind of a little pattern to it, because you want the outside of the pasta to be a little rough, and that the kitchen towel will help with that. So we put some semolina, and what we're going to do is take our dough and just pinch it a little bit. So we make a little ball, probably the size of a small marble, not very large. Perfect. And then we take the ball, put it on our thumb, press on it with the thumb, and just roll. And it takes a while to get the hang of it, and this is what it should look like. So, excellent, perfect. And that's the perfect size, because that's going to cook relatively quickly. So we want to keep the size consistent. That's the most important thing. If the shape is not perfect in the beginning, that's perfectly fine, but you want to keep the size constant so they all cook at the same, in the same amount of time. So, marble size ball, oops, dropped mine. And then press with the thumb and roll it. Perfect. Excellent. And we'll keep adding more semolina over here, because we want the outside of the pasta to be coated with semolina so they don't stick together when we move them later to put them in the pot. And these are called Cavatelli. You can find them at the stores. They look a little skinnier like this. But I prefer to make my own because I think they taste so much better. And they're one of the easier shapes of pasta to make. When we get more advanced, we'll make something called orecchiette, which means little ears, which are a little harder to make and more time consuming. If you're a Julian grandma, you make these very fast, but it takes me a while, and that's fine. I usually chit-chat with my friends while I'm doing this. So time goes by fast. And with more practice, it gets easier and you'll get much faster. And they're fine. You know, they're a little bigger than mine, but as long as they're the same size, you can put them in the same pot and they'll cook in the same amount of time. So, perfect.
My marbles.
Same size marbles. Thank you for joining us for this Oliva presentation. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Did you have fun?
Absolutely.
I hope you have fun. Watch this video and try to make the pasta at home. The recipe's on the website. Just have fun.